Back to the busy phones here on Trunk Nation on a free-for-all Friday. We've got about half an hour left to go before we wrap up for the week. This is Todd in North Carolina. Hey, Todd.
Hey, Eddie. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to touch base. You were talking about some bands that, you try to promote, and one of them was, actually, I think it was back in 2015 that we were looking, when I was looking at some info on it, was Pharmacos, Joe Holmes. I was wondering if you had anything on that, because I know from last I understood they were looking to get together and do a tour, but then kind of just deflated and nothing happened. So I was wanting to know if you had any information on that band.
Yeah, well, Todd, great timing for you to ask me that question, because I actually just discussed that band on Wednesday night at the Cornell Tribute backstage in Metallica's dressing room, because Robert Trujillo played on that Pharmacos record and played with Joe Holmes.
Being associated with it, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the drummer on that record is Brooks Wackerman, who's since become the drummer in Avenged Sevenfold. So I spoke to Rob about it, because I haven't heard from Joe Holmes in a while, and I asked Robert about it and if he had heard from Joe, and he had said it had been a little while since he spoke to him, but he said that Joe was still trying to resuscitate that band, but there was nothing imminent and he didn't know that of anything new being recorded. Thank you for the call, Todd, but to get people up to speed about that and what Todd's talking about, one of the great guitar players that played in Ozzy's band that is kind of overlooked in a big way is Joe Holmes. Joe was in Ozzy's band for like 4 years, but he never did a studio record with Ozzy. And because of that, I think a lot of his contributions and what he did has been overlooked. But he was amazing live, I thought. And Joe Holmes went off the grid for a long time, raised a family, and then about 3-4 years ago put a band together called Pharmacos and released his own record. And it was killer stuff. And Rob from Metallica played bass because they had both played bass together in Ozzy, or played together in Ozzy at that time. And then they had Brooks Wackerman on drums, and there was a singer. And what happened was, what I had heard was the singer, all these guys are based here in L.A. The singer was not. And the singer was on the fence about moving to L.A. to be fully committed to this and what have you. And what Robert told me the other day and what Joe told me the other day is they've now found a new singer, that Joe now has a new singer, and they're going to make another record and they're going to really give it a go. I don't know if that's still the case, but because Rob said it had been a little while since he heard from them, but he did say that Joe had a new singer. I don't even know if they were going to use the same name as Pharmacos, but look that up. That's pretty slamming stuff. Pharmikos. There's a CD. I guess there was some digital version of it as well. And it was a slamming band. And Joe Holmes is a great guitar player, but I've said this so many times on this show, and it's true. If you sit on the sideline for a long time in the music industry, when you get back into it or want to get back into it, it ain't easy. And it's hard to adjust to what you need to do and the commitment it takes to try to get something happening. And I think, Joe's running into that a little bit. But maybe I'll see him while I'm still out here. I'll try to find out some more information. But it was great stuff, and I just know that they got a new singer. I think that's the latest that I had heard. This is Mike in Pennsylvania. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Eddie. I'm going to see Cheap Trick next month at the Sands in Bethlehem. I was wondering if you could do me a favor and write a set list for them. You have a history of doing that.
When are they playing? Hold on, Mike. When are they playing there? When is that show?
February 17th. It's a Sunday.
I didn't know that Cheap Trick had a date there. I'm going to put that on my calendar, and if I can go, I'm going to try to make that. My schedule's a little bit in flux those middle 2 weeks in February, but if I'm available, I'm going to try to get there for sure. I didn't know there, but yes, Mike, you are right. I guess probably the last time they played there, that's the legendary night where they let me do the set list. I have it framed on my wall to this day.
They actually played everything you put on there.
Yeah, it was crazy. The backstory on that was that I had spent 3 shows. I was on the road 3 shows. Aerosmith and Cheap Trick opening. The shows were in Wichita, Kansas, Oklahoma City. I traveled to like 3-4 shows. The promoter had hired me to be on that tour and do some meet and greets. And every night when Cheap Trick would walk to the stage to open for Aerosmith, I would get in Rick's ear and I'd tell him, "Hey, you should put this in the set. You should put that in the set." And he would tell me, he goes, "Why don't you just write a set list one of these days?" So when they played the headline show a few months later at that venue, the Sands in Bethlehem, PA, I drove out, and their tour manager, Carla, sent me an email the night before and said, "Rick's waiting for the set list so they know what they want to play and what you want them to play." And I was just like, come on, don't make me do this if they're not going to really do it. They won't know how to play these songs. They won't have them rehearsed. And Rick's like, "We don't ever rehearse. We've never rehearsed in our life. We don't need to rehearse. We know our whole catalog." So I jotted down on email like 15 songs, and I showed up at that show about a half an hour before they went on. I walk backstage. They're all standing there. They print out the printout of my songs. They go, "We're ready to go. We're going to play it." I go, "You guys aren't just busting my balls." And they went out and they played every single song. And Rick called me out from the stage and explained to the audience, if they didn't like what they were hearing, that it was my fault, and pointed to me. And the crowd was getting restless because I didn't have hits on the list. And they wanted the hits, especially a casino crowd. So by the end of the night, after they played like the 15 songs I picked, they came out and they played 4 or 5, "I Want You to Want Me" all right in a row, and everybody went home happy. But I have the list framed on my wall they all wrote notes on it. "Eddie, great set list," or "This list sucked," or "Just busting my balls." And it was one of the great nights. And I mean, think about that. If you love a band, the band coming to you and saying, "Just pick 15 songs and we'll play them all." It was crazy. And I'll never forget that they did that.
It's pretty impressive because they probably didn't play a lot of them in like 30 years or something.
Well, yeah, that's what I said to him. Thank you, Mike, for the call. I'm up against a break. But that's what I said to them, too. I said, I put stuff on there like "Woke Up with a Monster," "Speak Now," or "Forever Hold Your Peace." I put a lot of things on there that I put "Voices" on there. I put "Tonight It's You" on there, one of my all-time favorite Cheap Trick songs. Put a lot of stuff on there. And I said, "You guys probably haven't played these songs in years. You're not going to... How are you going to play them? You've never rehearsed them." They don't rehearse. They just go up and play. And that's made even more amazing by the fact that there is one guy in that band that's not an original member, the drummer, Dax, Rick's kid. And he didn't have anything to do with 98% of the material they play live, but he knows the catalog. Rick's like, "Oh yeah, he knows it better than I do." It's a big catalog. I think of all the songs I put on that list that they played, they told me the one that was the toughest, meaning they hadn't played it in the longest, to bring back was "Woke Up with a Monster," which was like a mid-90s period Cheap Trick song. Just an amazing, amazing, amazing band. And I didn't know that they had a gig there again. I might try to take a ride out to that. Maybe even bring the kids. Give them a little shot of Uncle Nielsen. That was also the night that Rick has that, whatever it is, that 6/7 neck guitar. That I don't know if it was that night or on the Aerosmith tour where somebody knocked that guitar over and broke one of the necks off. And Rick had me come over to take a picture of it because he didn't even have his phone, and he wanted to document it for insurance. And he was really, really shaken up over that. But the one neck separated from that legendary, whatever it is, 6-neck guitar that he has. I remember looking at it in the case and him standing there just like couldn't believe that had happened. And I'm assuming it's since been fixed. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back. A few more minutes, a few more calls as we get ready to wrap up for the week and a busy Friday here on Trunk Nation on Volume.